Good morning, everybody. I'm Melisa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials. We're talking today about sort of how to work in homeschool and how to keep your rhythm and what things you should be looking out for. And it's a super important topic, I think, because I know there are a lot of moms that are either running a business from home or they're running a business from home, or they're working in some capacity to help make ends meet. And so, I thought I would approach this topic. And I want you to be successful if this is what you are choosing to do. And I would say that we're pretty successful at it as far as running our home and keeping everybody situated in the know, and kids are not falling off the planet. And so I think that we have a good amount of knowledge about this. I'm not saying by any means that we're perfect with it, but for sure, we've been around the block. We've been doing this for a long time. Samuel is now 12, and we have been running a business. Well, I have been running a business in some capacity since actually way before Eric and I got married. But my business was different then. It was a handwork business. I sold math gnomes, and I sold math gnomes. I sold punctuation gnomes. I was the first person to sort of bring those cute little guys like into the retail space. And that was a lot of years ago. And so really one of the things that we did, or that I did, was I had all of that together, and I was working and I was homeschooling and I was a single mom. I'm just a pretty stubborn human being. And when I got divorced, I was determined that my children were still going to be able to be homeschooled, and that I was not going to have to go back into the corporate world. And so I really, really thought, I'm going to perfect this. So about 3 months, no, more like 4 to 6 months probably before I got divorced, I really started heavily into crafting. It's something I'm super good at. Really good at. I was taught well. Thank you, Mom. I was taught well, and I'm fairly good at it. And so I started a crafting business, and I worked that from before my divorce all the way through until I sold my business, that business, right before Eric and I got married. And so, and I sold it for a ridiculously low amount of money when I go back and think about it. But I did. And I sold to companies like Bella Luna at the time. The previous owner, I sold to, there was a company that used to be out of Sacramento that I sold to, and they've since gone. And there were a couple of other places. So I had enough income and enough residual sales that I was doing really well. And at the time, what I really was focused on was being able to stay at home. And so I think that that's really the first thing that you have to do when you're into this. And even if you are neck deep and you've been in the crafting industry or a coach or whatever it is that you are, and you've been doing this for a while, I still want you to step back. And even though I think that writing a business plan is just something that the banks want these days, I still want you to stand back, and I want you to ask yourself, why am I doing this? What's my goal? Because if your goal is to just bring in a little extra income, which is what a lot of people are thinking about when they're starting out, is I just want to bring in a little extra income. Well, you still need to sort of know what that extra income is. And then if your goal gets bigger, like our goal when we first started was not to necessarily bring Eric home. When we first started our business, it was just to sort of get out there. We had such demand. I had written our first book. I had written our kindergarten book, and the first edition, and we had so many people that were like really excited about that. They were like, well, are you going to write a grade 1 and a grade 2? And so we sort of like snowballed into our business before we really had the opportunity to know exactly what we were doing. So we made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, But at the end of the day, what it did is it helped us to learn. And so I'm hoping that the things that we learned will then sort of help you. But one of the biggest things I would say from the very beginning that we didn't have in place, because we kind of accidentally stepped into this, was that we didn't know what our goals were. We didn't know how much money we wanted to make a month. Yeah, we knew we wanted to make money, but we didn't define it really well. And we were really good at manifesting. And so we were always manifesting what we needed. There were definitely some incredibly lean times. I can remember one time that we borrowed money from Harry to buy diapers. I remember that. And we were cloth diapering at the time, and it seems like a baby had a rash, and I just don't even remember all of it. But I remember thinking, I don't even have money to do that. And we were really struggling, but we made it through, and we continued to make it through because we felt very driven for what we were doing. So I think that's another really big aspect. Know how much you want to make and what your goal is. And then to be spiritually driven is such a godsend, because when you are, then you have the Spirit behind you, and you are very much on not just your errand. So if you are sharing your talents with the world through handwork or through any kind of art that you're doing, make sure that you're always standing in the right spirit of things. It totally helps you drive it. It totally helps it all drive. We were always in the spot of feeling like the work that we were doing was necessary work. Like even way back 12 years ago when we were doing it. So I remember when I built my first website, and it was probably like it wasn't even Blogger. It was just a site that I shared things on. We weren't necessarily in business yet. It seems like I was pregnant with Sam. It's where A Little Garden Flower name came from years ago. And I had built it without really realizing how many people were going to start following us. And so be prepared to work, but be prepared to have people follow you that you didn't even think about. And so that just really started to build. And then when Sam was, he wasn't 2 yet, he was just over 1. Eric was really struggling at work in that he was done being a reporter in a small town. I think that's the long and short of it, right, dear?
Yep.
Being a reporter in a small town was really not great. He loved his job. Eric's got a degree in film and a degree in journalism, and he loved the journalism aspect of it. He did not love the management aspect of it. And so he came home to work with us, and it was a huge leap of faith. But again, we didn't have a goal in mind. We didn't have when we make this money, then Eric can come home and be with us. So my suggestion to you is make sure you know what your goals are. And it will, because I think it will help a ton. But at the same time, even though you want to know what your goals are and you want to be really specific, be sure to take leaps of faith. Because if God's got your back, or source, or whatever noun you use for that, the universe has your back, you are going to do amazing things. And we have flown on that like ever since. And yeah, we plan a lot now, and we make sure that we have our goals tight, and we make sure that we are communicating a lot. He and I have a business meeting every single day, and we have our bigger business meeting every week, and we are in constant communication about our business because it is so big. I think that because of that, we can do what we do, because people ask me all the time, Melissa, how do you do it? How do you do what you do? Well, it's not just me. It's the people around you that you trust and that you would trust with your life. Very blessed that we have been able to have some amazing people in our lives. But I would say with that, like I said, we've had some that weren't. And I would definitely take your time to vet the people that you work with. Make sure that you pray and meditate about it, that you know that this person will have your back no matter what, because it's really hard when they don't. And we've been there, haven't we, dear? Mm-hmm. We have totally been there when that person goes dark for a week, or I just remember we've been in some pretty gnarly situations. And those things really taught me, though. They taught me that I will always, 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 and I think even when we become millionaires, because it's going to happen someday, not off Waldorf Essentials, but one day, even when we become millionaires, I'm going to know how to do every single thing in our business. I'm going to know how to do the back end. I'm going to know how to do the taxes. I'm going to know how to do every piece, because I think it is super important that as a business owner, you can touch everything if you need to. You might not have to, but that you can touch everything. And I think it's really important. So let's see. Rhiannon says, with starting a business, does your Thinking, Feeling, Willing program have any breakdown of how to start a business from a legal perspective, like getting your business name registered, etc.? I don't. And it's something that we've definitely considered putting together. And like I said, I have thought about putting together a course about this, just because I think there's a lot of information that I know I'm not going to get into, a 30 or 45-minute video. But what I would first suggest is go to your state and just get your tax ID, get that information, get your DBA, so that you can do business as legally and register yourself as a sole proprietorship if that's what you are, and that's what we are, and it's super helpful in that it helps us with tax time. It helps us as far as like being able to only have to worry about us because we are sole proprietors. And we have the tax ID number, which is super helpful in a lot of situations. So things that I think are vital are your rhythm, your personal rhythm, and being organized. And if you are not good at those things, my suggestion to you is to decide that you're going to get good at those things. Because when you're good at those things, then everything else flows. So with regards to school, I often talk to a lot of business owners or moms that work outside the home that are trying to homeschool that say, I'm not getting the schooling in that I need to get in. So this is where I'm coming back to our Planning for Peace journal is vital. So this is your lifeline it is your lifeline anyway, but I think when you are working to put together your business and your homeschool, you've got to do this and you've got to do the work. You can't decide you're not going to do the work and you're just going to cram it all in. It will not work for you. You will stumble. You will fall. You will be frustrated at yourself. So you want to make sure that you actually do the work. That's why you're in this business. You want all of these things for yourself. You've got to show up. And showing up means that if you're going to homeschool and you're going to run a business, or you're going to homeschool and you're going to work outside the home, you've got to show up. That is the number one most important thing. Show up for your kids. And that means you got to plan it. You got to plan it out. You got to get their lessons planned in detail. When you get their lessons planned in detail in advance, it frees you up so much the rest of the year, because you're not rushing. You're not trying to get product out and trying to plan lessons at the same time. Take it from somebody who's been there. There have been years where I haven't planned it out really well. And in the beginning, when we were still trying to figure this out, and I was not doing a full work day, and I was doing all the teaching, and Eric was running a lot of the back end, and we were kind of in this, it wasn't a tug of war between he and I, but it was definitely a tug of war of trying to figure out rhythm and trying to figure out, like, what is it that we're not doing right? How do we get this together? And that's really where so much of this came from. You've got to get yourself organized. You've got to get your lessons together. It is not funny to not. I have so many moms go, hee, just really sanguine. And I just don't, and that's how they talk. And I just don't think I can do it. And I go, well, if you want to run a business and be successful, you got to figure it out. You got to listen to me. You've got to do it. This is your kick in the butt. You've got to do it. You've got to get your lessons planned. If you are planning on starting school this week or next week and you are not planned, shame on you. Stop when we're done with this video. Get off Facebook and go get busy. Like, really and truly get busy. Okay, let's see. Got a mom here that says, I'm famously disorganized. Tisk, tisk. I am making a huge attempt at organization and planning in the last few weeks. I have my Planning for Peace journal. I'm already seeing a difference. Woohoo, good. In every aspect of my life. Hold on. Push the wrong button. We've got a lot going on. So if I can do it, anyone can. Yes, Miss Meg, you can. That's really the key right there. You just have to you just have to make the first step. Set forth the effort. And guess what? If you are on a mission that the universe is behind, you start one step, and guess what? The whole universe opens to help you. It works, but you have to work it. You absolutely have to do it. You've got to be able to decide, My kids are important. That's why I'm homeschooling them. And if you're homeschooling them, then you got to do what's in this journal. You have to every stinking step. That's how we have done what we've done. We have laid a blueprint for you here. This is definitely for everybody, but it is in droves for business owners and for people who work outside the home. This is vital. So you have it, you've got it set aside. The next thing I would say is we bullet journal, and I'm back. It's not rocket science. You can look up tons of videos on YouTube on bullet journaling. Find oodles of blog posts on bullet journaling, everything. And there have been times when I haven't used it, and like Eric kind of laughs at me because I am the woman who is in search of the perfect planner always. Am I not here? Like, how many planners have I purchased? A lot. Like, I listen to Grant Cardone every now and again, and he's like, you buy my 10X planner. I was like, all right, you're successful. I'll bite. I spent $35 on this stupid planner that's the same on every damn, page. Every page is the same. And it is not what I needed. So I will show you in our bullet journal what it is that I do, how I keep track of things, and what works and what hasn't been working. Because really and truly, one of the things that you have to do when you're in business is you have to track who's coming to you. You have to track where they're coming from. You have to track your advertising. You have to know these things. You have to be able to make things measurable. And I think that if you can really decide that you're going to harness this, then you are going to do well. But you've got to plan for your kids, like in complete detail. You've got to plan for your business. And then you have to keep your rhythm in check. You have to. And so one of the things that I'm always talking about is this rhythm chart in here. Where the heck did it go? Let me find it. So the last time I did it, the rhythm chart that's in Planning for Peace, we also have one on our website. So if you're not a Planning for Peace member, I'm happy to drop this over to you. Just drop me a PM and I'll send it to you. The last time I did the actual rhythm chart, I did it because I felt like business was getting out of hand. We've had a very trying summer, and I just was trying to get my head around how I was going to do everything and how everything was. And so I just tracked for business all week. And because I'm a little Waldorf nerd as well, I color code my days the same way Waldorf does. I do all of those things. I use purple pen on Monday, I use red pen on Tuesday, and I'm a little weird that way. But what helps, because I am so organized when it comes to that, I always know what day I wrote it on, because I know what color I wrote it in. And if I can't find the specific pen, I get really irritated. Really irritated. So I have a pen for every day of the week. So purple for Monday, red for Tuesday, yellow for Wednesday. Although the yellow often doesn't show up very well, so it's more like a golden color. And then orange for Thursday, and then blue and green. So Aunt Penny, I'm happy to send you the link later. I'm happy to. So anyways, I make sure that I color code, because it helps me later. It helps me later remember why I did what I was doing. And so it's super, or what day it was that I did it on. So it's super, super helpful. And so I would highly suggest doing some sort of system that gets you feeling good about sort of how you're keeping your notes and keeping track of things. But when it comes to your rhythm, you've got to do this actual rhythm chart. And one thing I'm going to say, and I've been talking about this for a long time, and I often have to remind it to myself, not often, but every now and again I have to remind it to myself. And that is, you don't have to answer emails 30 seconds after they get to your inbox. It is okay for your customers to wait for a few minutes. It is okay to schedule out time. That's where time blocking, I think, is incredibly important. When you time block, okay, I'm going to spend 3 hours on this day. Well, then wait until that 3 hours and sit down then and do it. It's vital that you get up before your kids. It's vital that you have a plan when you do get up. So that night before, you should be sitting down with your bullet journal and or your Planning for Peace journal, and really going through, okay, what is it that I'm doing tomorrow morning for productivity, whether it be with your business or whether it be with, with schooling, whatever it is that you're doing. If you have the goal to bring dad at home at some point in time with your business, then I think you have to really be very cautious and very conscientious of everything. And one of the things that I really like that Grant Cardone says, even though some of his stuff is way crazy, one of the things that he says is you don't have a spending problem, you have an income problem. And so it's all about like making sure that you can get your income flowing. And when you can get your income flowing, things feel better and you're not so stressed. And so some of the things that we've done over the years, we are trying to have less sales, not because we're trying to not be amazing for the audience that we serve, but more because we are worth what we're worth. And so you are too when it comes to your business. I really think that it's important that you step back and look at that. And I know I have not been a very good example because there have been times where I have sold myself too short and it always comes back to bite me, like always. So always make sure that you're being paid what you're worth, especially if you're in the crafting industry. One of the things that's funny about the crafting industry is people think that it's so easy to sew. Well, yeah, I can sew. And yeah, it's easy to sew. I can do it. But sewing for somebody else or crafting for somebody else is no picnic sometimes. So I think that you need to make sure that you charge what's competitive. Make sure that you're being competitive. I know it's really hard if you're in the crafting industry. There's so much competition on Etsy, so much competition. So make sure that you stand out. I know one of the things that makes Waldorf Essentials stand out is that our customer service is the best. It's the best. And that's my goal always, to have number one customer service, because I know that y'all talk. And the same will be true for you if you are in an industry like a crafting industry. People will talk. And so you want to make sure that if you say you're going to turn it around in such and such time, that dang it, you turn it around 2 days beforehand, and that you deliver faster than you thought you could. So, oftentimes that only can happen when both mom and dad are at home. So if that's your goal, set your goal appropriately. Brandon says, your voice is the voice that totally changed my life. Thinking, feeling, willing for life. Thank you. I love our program. I think our program does a really good job of helping you get your rhythm intact, like really understanding. You come to Waldorf Education and you think that rhythm is all about what day you're going to bake and what day you're going to shop. And that's really what the outside of it is. A lot of people don't talk about more than that. But I really dig into what's at your soul, like what's at the depths of it, because that's really what helps you change your habits. It's when you understand yourself. So once you understand yourself, then you can do anything because you understand yourself. When you don't understand yourself and you feel like you're fumbling around in the dark, it is incredibly difficult to move forward in anything, whether it be a business or homeschooling or a successful partnership or relationship. You've got to be able to move forward. And in order to do that, you have to know yourself. So again, I would go back. I would make sure that you know why you're doing what you're doing. I would make sure that you're organized, and I would really, really, really work on that rhythm. So suggestions for rhythm. If you are a crafter, get your butt up early before your kids and do your work in the morning. If there are things that you can only do when you don't have kids around, that's when you start deciding whether or not your partner should come home to work with you, or you get yourself a really good mother's helper so that you can go into your garage or go into your workspace or whatever it is and craft for 3 hours twice a week or whatever it is that you need to do. And then you have to be impeccable with your time. And by that, I mean, if you say you are going to spend 3 hours crafting, that's what you spend 3 hours doing. You turn off your Facebook notifications, you turn off your email notifications. Better yet, turn your phone all the way down and put on a podcast or something amazing instead that is really filling your spirit while you're doing your work. If you are in an industry like mine, then if you say you're going to spend 3 hours on email, which is what I have to do this morning because we went on vacation for a week and I have like 300 emails. If you are waiting for an email from me, I promise you'll get one today. But if that's what you say you're going to do, turn off all your other notifications. Often when I sit down to work on email, I will turn my phone notifications all the way off so that I'm not hearing them. Or better yet, my family, I'll send them all a group text that says, I'm working, don't bother me. If you need something, text your dad. And then I put my phone away so that I can't even hear it go off. Because time blocking, I think, is super important. When you block that time, be impeccable with that time that you've blocked. It's really super helpful. When it comes to knowing like school time. Don't let your business interrupt school time ever. There have definitely been times where there's been like a crisis and I've had to step in the bathroom and fix something or figure something out, but don't let it interrupt your school time as much as you can help. I know that there are people that have said to me before, oh, but we have customers that come into our store during school time. Do what you can to minimize that. Hire somebody for the front. Hire somebody to help you with that. Even if it's just somebody that's answering phones that says, yes, so-and-so can answer or can call you back later. Or they can man emails to make sure they're not emergencies. Because that time that you spend in school is so important that you are present. So the way we do it now, Eric teaches 1 day, I teach 2 days. I work 2 full days a week, but I can only do that because he's at home with me and because our business necessitated it. So look at your business, look at what it is that your needs are. And if you are spending more time than you have help for, it's time to reevaluate. If you are spending more time than your partner can help you with, or you can hire a sitter for to help you, then it's time to reevaluate. It's time to evaluate, is what I'm doing what I really need to be doing? And if that is, then who is out there to help me and how can I get around this? Because I think that definitely in times of growth, it can feel extremely chaotic in your business when you're trying to homeschool and do everything else because you're trying to grow. So you've got to plan ahead for that. You've got to see it coming and plan ahead for it and go, oh, it's time for me to have more than just a teenager that helps me. It's time that maybe I have a teenager that drives, helps me. Somebody that can take kids to lessons, take kids to the library, do things that you usually do, but you're also running this business. So, one of the things I learned years ago when I was working with Leche League as a lactation consultant, I had this wonderful, wonderful older lady that was my mentor. And she said to me, you never do anything unless it's at the expense of something else. And I remember thinking, that sucks. Like, that's the crappiest thing ever that you could have told me. But the older I get, the more I go, it's not a bad thing. It just means that, hey, if you want to go do this, you're not doing all of these other things over here. And if you want to do this, well, you're not going to do these things over here. It's about choice. It's about being an agent. It's about reminding yourself, hey, you chose this. You don't have to work this business. You don't have to do these things. You chose to do this. You chose to homeschool and run this business at the same time. Or if you're somebody that works outside the home, you chose to homeschool in addition to working outside the home. So you've got to find ways to be a find a way, make a way woman. You've got to. And that's my Mary Kay days talking, because I was a Mary Kay consultant 1,000 years ago. But a lot of those things that I learned then are definitely present in my business now. If you are a find a way, make a way woman who puts God first, family second, career third, in that order, then you're going to do great things. If you've got that order all mixed up and you're putting your work before your family or your faith, or whatever faith practice that is, then you're going to have things mixed up. You've got to put them in order. Your faith practice has to be first, your family has to be second, and your business has to be third. Because otherwise, why in the heck are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And there are times when I have to stand back and go, I'm going to breathe out and I'm going to reevaluate some things. I'm going to decide, hey, I'm not going to take any clients on this day because I really need this day to work, or it doesn't work that I'm working on that day. So we're going to change some things up and I'm going to spend that day with kids, whatever it might be. I am constantly making sure. I'm a little neurotic about making sure the rhythm is right, because I know when it's right, it flows. It feels super good and everybody is happy. And that means on Monday what everybody's doing on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know what's going on that week. You've sat down, you have a family meeting. One of the things that we talk about often is having that family meeting on Sunday so that everybody knows what's going on that week. When we have that family meeting, everybody knows how many clients does mom have on this day? What's mom's work schedule? Oh, what are we doing with dad this day? What are we eating? Like, all of those pieces that I talk about in our Planning for Peace journal, all of those pieces are very active and present when it comes to planning for business stuff. We have that family meeting because I also not just want everybody to know what's going on, but I also need kids to know, hey, this is how we do what we do. This is how we live 3 blocks from the ocean. This is how we have the things that we have, because we're working together as a family to make those things happen. And we are really good at manifesting things. Sometimes it feels like it takes forever to manifest things. Forever. Sometimes it's really hard. But when it happens, it like boom, boom, boom. Because one thing that I learned a long time ago is that my timetable and God or the universe's timetable are not the same. Sometimes they are way different. And even though I want it right now, doesn't always happen that way. So it's about building patience and keeping your faith while you're doing that, and really doing what you need to do to move forward in your business, in your life, in your homeschooling, even though you need things to show up. And so ask with intent, ask with purpose when it comes to working on your manifesting. Ask in your prayer and meditations, ask and be specific. I am just as specific with my prayers for business as I am with my prayers for family. And my answers are just as specific. Like the Thrive program was laid out because I asked this very specific question. And it was laid out for me in the 20-minute shower that I took that morning after I had prayed about it and was really trying to be open to the Spirit about like, how do we bring some of these concepts to families rather than just homeschoolers? And it was laid out, boom, 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 every piece, what to call it, everything. So you've got to be incredibly specific about what you ask for, and your answers will be incredibly specific. Let's see, Meg says, I've always thought that things flowed when they just flowed. As my life took more meaning, responsibility, and craziness, I learned that they flow when you make them flow and put effort. Yes, ma'am. And put effort in. Excuse me. It's the opposite of what I initially thought. I can't believe it took so long to figure it out. Yes, ma'am. Agreed. I think that some of us bumble around, myself included, in running a business and trying to figure out why it's not working and why things feel chaotic until we decide, oh, wait a minute, I have control over this. I can do something about it. I can make sure that I have things in place. The idea with rhythm is really to be able to see that thing that's a month away and see it coming and go, oh, I'm just going to move this over here and that over there and this here, and then it flows. That's how it flows. It doesn't flow like a river that goes straight. Rivers have blocks in them. They have rocks in them. They have detours in them. They have, islands that separate them. They have channels. So you have to be able to hone all of that and be able to know and see what's coming. And that way, when the random crazy thing happens, like somebody dies or somebody's in an accident or you have a baby 2 months early, and there you have it all in place so that those things do not feel like calamity. They do not feel like they're the end of the world. They feel like, hey, I can set this aside for a second. I can deal with this and be in management mode, and then I can pick everything back up. And that's really what's important here, is that you are feeling very good running a business and being passionate about what you do and about homeschooling and being present for your family. Super, super important. So if you have any questions about running a business and homeschooling, please feel free to drop me a message. I am happy to direct you. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week.